decided to join us today for the Voice Lessons with Monifa. We have Wendy Retzer here. And I'm so glad you're here and joining me. I met Wendy in one of our wonderful business programs by Stage Divine. She does such an amazing job, and we obviously have learned a lot from her. But what I think a lot of these programs give us most is connections, right? And we get to keep those even after we leave. And so maybe at the end, I'll ask a little bit about what you're doing there as well, because I want to see, because also one of the things we're connecting in is confidence in our business and sales, right? So what we do with our voices is we allow them to serve us in my practice, in my studio. And one of the ways that they serve us is they help us to find our confidence innately, instead of always trying to garner it from previous experience or proof that somebody else said so. This kind of thing is also useful, but it's nice to self-generate confidence, and true confidence comes from within. We know that, right? So this is how you access it. You get to know where it is, and then you can choose it. That's what I like to say. So we're going to just start with our breath outward. So we're going to do that 3 times. You know the I don't know, the roll, the way we do it over here. If you've been to the other ones. So breathing all the way out, and I like to move a little once we start saying, oh, we're going to bring the body into it, which is the voice is the body. Yeah. Breathing all the way out. Man, you don't have to move if you don't want to, but if you feel like you could, going to S's, thinking into the earth, breathing back in from the earth through the perineum into the lower belly, under the belly button. Why under the belly button? What if I don't want to keep it there? Because this is what I'm imagining in my head. Because when we are aware of the breath coming in below, from below, which is how the lungs fill, is from bottom up, then we get to also be aware of how it shifts and changes our body. And that level of awareness is the beginning of intuition. We were talking a little bit about that before. So that's why it is. It's really embodiment, but what's the difference between intuition and embodiment? Nothing. Okay, so we have like this process just to bring that awareness. And with every breath, we'll have even more focus, more awareness, more calmness, and self-connection for confidence. Okay, breathing all the way out. And breathing in from the earth to the lower belly. And yeah, I speak to these things in a very specific way for reasons, but I try not to teach whole classes every time I do this. But there's a reason why I say it the way I say it. And with each one, we're just noticing if anything else is changing. What most people find is that the breaths just get longer. They have more breath outward more quickly, and more breath inward more quickly. And I say longer, like deeper. That's what I was trying to say. How are you experiencing it, Wendy?
Definitely, I'm more comfortable taking the breath in and out. It's like it's becoming more natural, instead of like in the beginning, it was like I was only taking in like so much, where this is like, it's become more fluid. Like I'm taking it in and it's coming in and then it's coming out. So instead of like coming in, going out. I don't know.
Yeah, because when we're like conscious, like this is my hardest part, when they say like, take a deep breath, like that instruction is not always useful for me, right? Like what I do is I replace that with relax. Like, then it's like they say that and I'm like, okay, just relax and breathe in. Okay. But my breath in is that feeling of the belly dropping. So that's part of what we're doing. So kind of training the relaxation as part of the process, instead of the tension habit of, and then it's really short. It stops about halfway into the lungs and it's plus tension. There's tension that wraps around to the back. So instead of all of that and having to undo it, we just relax to breathe out, remember what that feels like and relax to breathe in. Right. So I'm breathing into the same space that I was breathing out of. And now I'm starting from the bottom. The problem with breathing in first for me also is that you're breathing on top of stale air. And again, tension. And the stale air is not as useful, it doesn't go as far, it's not as efficient.
Yeah.
It's like a lot, you know. So
That's super,
Wendy,
that's really helpful.
yeah, good. Because I contradict a lot of teachers. So, and that you've had previous experience hearing from like directors and teachers and stuff, like it may take a moment, like, what? Okay, right? But they're like, and if you need an explanation why I choose the way I do it, just ask me, and that'll help a lot of people because they're all getting other versions, right? And then they can kind of choose. You can choose your methodology, right? But this is why I use mine. We're now, as you breathe out and as this, we're just going to see if we are noticing any, I call it warmth or movement when we breathe in from the earth in the lower belly. And yeah, if you could do it again, just notice. And if you breathe in below the belly button, it'll be more obvious. Did you feel it?
Now I'm trying too hard.
See?
I got it. It's like I got like, yeah.
This is a common theme for my people.
Yeah, I just don't need to think about it. So
yeah. So as we follow the breath outward, when we do the S's, like we don't need to do anything more than the body's already doing. And when release, you just let the belly flap open, like we just, open the second button on our pants after Thanksgiving type of deal,
I'm feeling the connection. I wouldn't say it's like so much a warmth for me, but I'm feeling that connection between like my feet down on the earth, and feeling that connection coming up. I don't feel disjointed in any way.
Okay, good. All right, so the next place of awareness we're going to point out is that at the vocal cords. So the vocal cords in the voice box are seated between the, I don't know, I keep losing this word. I keep wanting to say scapula, collarbone. Yeah, these little indentation are, what am I saying? So when we are breathing out, just notice if anything changes, and then release to breathe in from through the perineum into the lower belly. So whenever we're observing, we always want to observe from kind of outside the body, right? If we're here, if we're too far here, then we're always doing something extra, right? Right, because we'll usually slow down to think about it and see if we're feeling anything. And the slower you go, especially with the breath, the less you feel, right? Yeah, we need more breath, not less, right? So full release with full movement.
What I'm feeling is it's like it's opening. Like, most of my activities down here, but it's not like I'm like tightening up. It's like I feel it more like just,
Yeah, good. And so yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. Sometimes it feels like a little bit of like a stretch, as if you're stretching before exercising, this kind of little feeling here. Sometimes it's just like a little tingle of recognition. We don't have a ton of nerve endings in this area, so it's very natural not to feel much at all, right? But the more awareness we bring to it, awareness allows us to sense even more, right? And so what we also want to remember is that the vocal cords aren't actually at the front. This is just my indicator, so we're not thinking up here, right? But like it's actually in the middle. It's actually more along the line of that, the ridge of that top of our shoulder here. And it's, and then our skulls typically, like when we're actually aligned, are a little bit further back. And you'll hear that from many kind of chiropractor therapists, right? But this is actually proper alignment, but we're here because of our screens and all the things, yeah? So when we breathe out, if we allow that to line up naturally, what we'll find is like even more relaxation here. You feel that? It kind of even brings your whole body in, right? You feel that? Yeah. We want to allow for this. What we tend to happen, especially when we're professional, I know what I'm doing. We tend to hold ourselves up with our rib cage, essentially, which is eventually it's going to lead to back problems. So do that, folks. Breathe in. When we breathe outward, follow the energy down the spine into our sit bones, and then go straight line to the floor. So if you're standing, it's just through the heels. You can actually feel it through the heels when you're sitting, but right now we want to feel the upper alignment. So yeah, you feel how it's kind of, now you kind of have some movement happening, which is natural. Again, we hold ourselves pretty rigid because it makes people think we know what we're doing.
Right.
But if we allow a little bit more movement in the body, the breath is going to move us.
Okay.
Okay. That's a lot of like the kind of being on, and I'm going to
forward. Yeah. Like this a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. And I notice I do that too. And I'm like listening really hard, and I'm like, and it's definitely an empathic thing, because I notice the more I do it, the more energy I'm spending.
Yes.
Okay. So I've taught myself to like notice like how close to the monitor I am. So when I'm here, I'm too far in. I'm not in my own energy. And there's like there's a feeling that goes along with that. And then the more, now I recognize it. Now if I'm outside of my energy, I'm like, this is too hard.
That's a great,
go back to basics.
Yeah, no, that's a great notice.
Yeah. So and so that's just really good, like for anybody's in a lot of like meetings, Zooms all throughout the day. This is something for, especially for highly sensitive people, that we want to keep an eye on. We want to maintain our energy throughout the day and recharge throughout the day as well. Breathing in from the earth through the sit bones, through the perineum into the lower belly. And just notice how the body likes to shift a little bit, right? So in the natural sway, like there's this amazing teacher, that divine feminine something. And she does this sway thing, which is essentially what I'm kind of hoping people will fall into when they follow the breath. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the breath out. So when we breathe out naturally, we do kind of a little bit, a concave happens, a pelvic floor tilts a bit. And then, that's just natural, right? But we've been taught not to slouch.
Yes.
So we stay up, yeah? But if we are properly letting the sit bones take care of our posture, we can go pretty far both ways and not fall into a full slouch. And the breath is even less than that. So when you're breathing out, it's not going to let you go too far, because this bone structure is not going to let you go that far, right? And we breathe in. You have a natural kind of, the chest moves forward without the shoulders moving forward, which is another thing that kind of happens. So breathing out. Yeah. And then breathing in. I noticed like that time I was focusing on my shoulder blades coming together, and that actually prevents the slouching altogether, right? So what it's really just, can you move is the question. Because if you can't move, then we're not allowing the fast movements of voice to happen naturally and easily, okay? So this time we're gonna do a sigh. All behind. and ah behind M. So we're always stating a vowel because the vowel is the sound,
Oh,
right? And then we just tuck it behind M. Mm, oh.
oh,
Yeah. So we're already getting this. Is what happens. We have like a nice voice working with it. So you have like a little thing that's happening. Do you know your audio setting is in the Zoom?
yes.
So we're gonna play with audio settings. So you just audio settings, and then you go to original sound for musicians, and you click that on.
Okay, got it.
And then you're gonna go up to the top left-hand corner where our faces are.
Mhm.
And then that's gonna hover over there, and it's gonna have original sound for musicians. You gotta click it on.
Oh, wait a minute.
Just hover your cursor
Is it
on
under is it on my picture? Like the,
not on the picture, above it. So like where it says live for YouTube, if you hover over there in that corner.
oh, I got it. I see it. I got
Hey,
it. Okay, perfect.
you did it.
All right. Okay. All right.
So
So, okay.
okay.
What, how about
Can you turn your sound down a little bit? Or
okay,
yeah, the headset will work as
let
well.
me do that. Let me put these on. I think that will work better. Okay, how is that?
That's that's great. Perfect.
Okay.
So yeah, so now that we're making these luscious sounds, the microphones and things think we're echoing, and they're like, "Oh wait, there's too much sound, and I don't know what to do with that." So so ah behind and we're just
Okay.
letting the breath out, just like we did when we released all the breath.
Oh.
Yeah. So what we tend to do is we watch everything to make sure it's perfect, right? So we kind of like,
Mhm.
yeah. And you notice it's just not present, right?
Mhm.
So what we want to do is release all the breath, do the action first, and then review. Then say, oh, okay, this happened. It felt like this, right?
Okay.
It sounded like this. It felt like this. It felt, I wanted this, right? That we do afterwards, because if we're judging while we're doing, we're holding ourselves up. And
I hear you.
this is life, folks. When I talk about voice, they're talking life. It's a direct correlation, right?
Yes.
Like we got to be in it, present, and go when it's time to do a thing, and then we can review and see how we want to do it differently. But if we're constantly criticizing ourselves in the action, then we're going very slowly or not at all. And and like,
You're,
if we're constantly like, well, am I doing it right? I'm doing it, but am I doing
you're,
it right? If it's like going right,
yeah.
if I do something well, so there's really something different. Like you're just driving yourself crazy, and when you're using your voice, the body's just like, that's not useful. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what to do with that. Am I doing it right? That's not an instruction. Like that's not intention. I don't know what to do with that.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I hear you. Yeah.
So breath out into the earth are the instructions. That's what we're telling the
Okay.
body. Mm, ah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
the body knows how to do it. We don't actually. If we knew, we would all be able to teach, right? Like we don't.
I
Which
like
is
your
why American Idol is not useful for vocal direction. Like I don't know what they're thinking of accomplishing there. It's like, can you sing? Well, no, that's not a real question, right? I'm just being sarcastic. Obviously, there's some pent up feelings about these things, but but yeah, like even for teachers who aren't singers, they know how well, hopefully they know how the physiology and the anatomy is working and what works and what doesn't work. Like hopefully they have some understanding of that, you know. But if we don't know.
yeah.
And like all things we don't know yet, we're about to find out. We have to experience it to know.
Hmm.
Okay. So breathing all the way out and the breath in, we're thinking ma, ma when you're ready.
No.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything more. specific than that. Now we're going to move to some characteristic sounds. These are not meant to be beautiful. These are literally exercises. So the
Okay.
point of an exercise is to build musculature. It's not so that, it can be pretty while we're doing it. That's how we sweat.
Yeah.
And that
Yes.
includes the voice. Sometimes vocal exercises don't sound pretty, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to start with the chest voice. Most of us need to do more of this sound. We have been taught, especially women, I should say, that have been raised as women, people that we need to be soft. We have to be soft, and we don't get angry because that's not pretty. It's not, it's not becoming. Like these things that we kind of put on as aspects of who we think feminine is, right? Well, we all have our counterpoints, and this is one of them. So this is more masculine energy. More the chest voice is big, bright, and immediate. It's not pretty,
Okay.
So, ah,
Ah.
good job. Ah,
Ah.
go ahead.
Ah.
You see how the belly's moving?
Ah.
So that's what happens when you go down to the note. We aren't doing anything in this work. We are hearing. If anything, we're listening and we're giving vowels and we're breathing out. That's what we're doing. Okay? And this when we go, it's something that feels like it's getting low or seems like it's getting high. Like those are we don't know. We don't know what's going on. So we have to follow the body. What does the body do when it hears that note? Breathing out, we're just being aware of the body and listening. That's what.
Oh.
So you're anchoring the voice box, so it's not necessary. You don't have to go that far.
Right.
But so it's already low when we breathe out. Notice it's like descending. Yeah. So we just
Yeah.
needed to stay there. We don't need to move it. We don't need to do something more. We just needed
Wow.
to, right? Not do the other thing. And you go, "Ugh," you feel it go up.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's making
Okay.
it harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many
So
times do we make everything harder?
all the time, folks. If you're anything like me. Okay, so
Yeah.
so this is why voice is my great teacher, right? So the more we try to get to the note, the harder we make it to do it. Okay? And so what we want to do instead is just see if it happens. Like if it's too low, which is not an actual thing, if it's too high, which is not actually a thing, then the voice just won't start. That's what happens. Like if it's really physiologically impossible, the voice just won't start. Right? Anything else is experiments until we allow the body to get there. Okay? So
Uh,
say ah,
ah.
like you're teaching a classroom. Ah, right?
Ah.
Yeah, ah, as in laugh.
Ah.
Yeah, that's all we need. That's all
Oh.
we need. We need to
Ah.
say the vowel
Ah.
clearly, though. Otherwise, the voice doesn't know what we're doing. The body doesn't know what we're doing, right?
Okay.
So it doesn't take our vocal instruction because we don't know what we're doing. So, but but it will take a verbal instruction. The sound is ah,
Ah.
right? Yeah. So when we say it and hear this note, the body will adjust. Ah.
Ah.
Good job. Now we're just gonna do even less, and this time when we start, we're gonna release all the way through the earth. Ah.
Ah.
Better. Yeah.
I did feel myself go up a little bit, but then I
Yeah.
dropped in. So I did feel that. That was fun.
That was fun. And this is pretty low for you can always tell because the voice will start to shift towards a vocal fry, but that's okay. We don't necessarily we're not going to move past that, right? So and what will happen is that it'll either start or just kind of goes to air is what I call it.
Okay.
But it's that we want to go there.
Yeah.
Just ah.
Ah.
Yeah. Ah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah. Ah.
Yeah, we're gonna go up this time. We're gonna go the other direction. So we got a couple more characteristic sounds. We're gonna do poo, and we're gonna do poo slice. And it's not like poo singing ooh. It's like a hooty owl. Ooh.
Ooh. Like that.
Poo,
Ooh.
poo. And we let that P start it, so we're not holding on to it with our vocal
Okay.
cords again, okay? Poo, and then release.
Poo.
Yeah. So I said something I don't like to say because I said and then. So the start is a release and the finish is a release. They're both releases. Poo.
Poo. Poo.
Good job. Yeah. You
Okay.
see that habit of going forward when you start?
Yes.
It's sending air. It's sending
Yeah.
air that way.
Woo.
And our support is down. Our
Okay.
support and how our bodies kick in to support us is down. Right?
Yeah.
Poo.
Poo. Poo.
Yeah.
Poo.
I'm sorry. That was it. Poo.
Poo. Poo. Poo.
Yeah. So when we are allowing this to start, again, we want to allow it to kind of relax down and into the earth. So if we go, that's tension, right?
Okay.
You see how much clearer that is in the room? It's bouncing back to you, right?
Yes, and I'm not feeling it here.
That's even more important because that's what develops vocal tiredness and
Okay.
then problems in the upper register. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So. Good. Gorgeous. So definitely a soprano.
Yes.
Definitely that. What we want, whenever we kind of know, the only reason to know these things like registrations, vocal types, archetypes, phenotypes, the only reason we care, or, hopefully, is because it tells us what our strengths are and what maybe come up as a challenge, right? And where a lot of us are taught is that basically that means that you can't. Never let something like this tell you can't do something. Like, it's just nonsense, okay? So what we are saying usually is that the strength of your voice is in the upper register, right? So you want everything to be as easy as it is when you're in your upper register, right? So, and then alignment will do that. Good exercises will do that. So that's what we're kind of just saying. And then that does not mean you cannot sing low notes. Oh, they're too hard. Oh, it's too far, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we take on. It's like, oh, that just means, oh, I can't be logical. I'm a Gemini. I'm kidding.
Right.
But that's kind of how we take it. But no, it's like, no, you just have a different sense of logic, right? Ah. H is just breath, so you want to keep our ahs as our focal point. We're saying ah, and we're doing it like this.
I was thinking it. I felt the whole thing.
See how her whole face just kind of goes this way, right? So what we know we're like allowing the body to lead is if we're kind of like a little bit like this.
Right.
So, what you gonna do? I don't know. Oh my God. Right? So so and then again, just say it. So notice the difference between what you're doing
Oh,
now,
oh,
or
oh,
and
oh,
if
oh.
I say it to a classroom so they understand. You're repeating it so you can be clear with every time you say ah.
Okay. Oh, 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 oh.
Is that how you would teach a class?
No. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh.
Closer, closer. So how I would teach a class is like this. Ah, 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 ah.
Ah, 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 ah.
Yeah. So that they don't think that I'm kind of doing like they're hearing something more than ah, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of teachers teach kind of this placement where you open and then doesn't that feel natural? Don't you feel like the most natural and normal person in the world? Oh my God. You know? So why do we feel uncomfortable when we sing? Because of things like that, right? There's a
Right.
natural place that the body will go when we're being clear, right?
Mm.
And in anything more than that is just covering so we can make our so we can that's like putting on a really nice outfit but not showering. Like
Right. And you
it's like,
just
okay,
like went
yeah,
on
you
a
got a
sweaty
little
hike.
cover there. It's nice and warm because you've
Yeah.
got this ascended thing and that. Yeah, and is that your real voice? Is what we end up asking.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like you can be yourself with that? Is the next question, right? And that's so interesting is we're already kind of getting into the same things that are probably coming up when we're in these conversations about sales. Like, who are we thinking we have to be? It's like, are we too abrupt? Are we too abrupt for most people? And now we have to pretend like we're not clear and are we trying to be nicer than we are? Because that would feel unnatural. And now you feel a little bit like you're lying, but you're not. But you feel like it, so you're trying to prove you're not. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's what makes sales uncomfortable. It's like you're trying to show something that you know, right? But when we're doing the voice work, we want it to happen the way it comes out, and then we can always afterward we mess what I call with the bell. So this is the bell of the horn. If you really want to apply it, then know your voice first. Because if you just put the covering on every time, it may not be appropriate, and or it may be making it harder, and therefore you can't do it, much less make it sound better.
Yeah.
Right? But our voices have ways of doing it, and they have a way of getting to the note and all that. So you want to find that first, be clear on that, and then we can decide on the aesthetics of the room, the bell and the resonance and the things, right? Ah, 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 ah. Ah, 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 ah,
Oh, 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 oh,
ah, 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 ah.
oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, and just let even a little smile come in. We're laughing. It's ha 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 ha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh, 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 oh.
Yeah.
Oh, 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 oh.
Yeah. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And we're
Okay.
just releasing, relaxing enough to be able to do it. It looks like we had a little disconnection there, but we should be fine.
Okay.
Ha, 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 ha.
Oh, 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 oh,
And
oh, oh.
isn't that fun? So
Yeah.
the gravity really kind of takes care of it. The gravity and then the muscle balance. The muscles know how to balance the body, right? That's how we stay standing. It's doing it automatically. These are things we don't really need to do for the body. Okay.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, you have so much more space in there, but I
Yeah.
don't want you to try to go find it. I want you to allow it.
Okay.
through the spine. It's going to tell you where everything is, right?
Mhm.
Sorry. I missed. Yeah. Good job. We're going to do the repetition one, so three
Okay.
times. Yeah, through the sit bones. Yeah, you're doing a lot of what I'm doing. It's like I'm grabbing it back because I'm kind of trying to relate it to a little bit. Um, so when you go up, release it to the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let the sit bones sit you down because if you go too far this way, you'll lose everything, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm a
Okay.
bigger, like I'm a darker mezzo-y voice. So
Yeah.
as you can tell, that takes a
Yeah.
lot of movement from me,
Yeah.
but you can take it easy and through the sit bones.
Good.
Yeah, we're still getting more of a O than a ah. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
All
let's do
right.
that in the first fast version, please.
Okay.
Yeah, you feel that, but you feel how efficient it is. You can
Yes.
keep going for another half, octave, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that efficient. And so when you allow your body to do that work for you, hi little baby kiddos.
I
Um,
know.
oh, furry babies. All right. So when we allow the body to take care of it, it'll find the equilibrium. So miss until the body finds it. Let
Okay.
it let it miss, okay?
All right.
Good. We'll do that again. When you're ready. Yeah. If you start doing more breath and more vowel and less did I get there, it'll
Yeah.
be right on, I promise.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
just
let it be
going
messy.
for it.
Let it
I'm
be messy because the
yeah.
body's finding it. Trust it.
Okay. Okay. Oh man.
Yeah, that was vowel. Where's the vowel? You need lots and lots of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so you keep going this way because you think you need more space this way,
No, and I
right?
felt it. I felt that.
But the space is actually down the back of the tongue, literally. Like the way our body is built, the hard palate is literally the hard palate. It's not going anywhere. You can only get so much space out of that, right?
Right.
How the body's actually making space, the back side of the throat, the back side of the tongue, the relaxation of the vocal cords, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the lower they are, the more space you have. So that
Yeah.
body actually has to go down to go up. And this is something that we often forget because the notes are high, right? So if we're
Mm-hmm.
not, I think of it even for my body, for my body, my voice type, I think of it actually below my feet into the earth. I don't think, ha 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 ha, like, and just like kind of laugh. Like sopranos can do that very, it's so cute, yeah. Yeah. So like mezzos, we're like, right?
Right.
It's this big movement that has to happen that goes past the body,
Okay.
right? And the more we allow for that, the more space there is, the easier it is.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna come down a little bit and then we're gonna move back up. Cats love this stuff.
I know.
They usually want to start singing with you or they want to get in your lap. Like
Yeah.
that's usually, those are the two things.
Yeah. Yep. And we're right there.
So this time we're gonna stick the tongue out a little bit. So this is a little trick I do to release like habitual tension. Sometimes we
Okay.
are doing too much, so we're causing kind of an anti-tension to relax, right? So tongue against the lower teeth and see
Okay.
if you can lick them from behind.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. And again, like most things that I talk about in voice, you just want it to be able to move. There's no actually perfect place to do it. I mean, there's places that are going to be more efficient than others, but that comes from like repetitive practice, not from like guessing, right? But that ability, the body will find by itself if there's space to allow it, right? So we just need it to be able to move enough to allow it.
Okay. Putting her down so I'm not distracted. She's
No
yeah.
worries.
Okay.
Yeah. So, say it. When you look back at the recording, you're gonna be like, "What am I doing?" Okay. Like, so again, we want to say it like we're saying "hola," not "oh." Yeah. Hola. Ah.
But I felt like that was all right here. Like,
Yeah. But what you don't feel is any of this. So right now
oh,
we're using all of this as a crutch to support the sound.
okay.
But with that crutch comes limitation.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're aligning better on the spine so this stops being a crutch. All right. And then we're focusing back to the vocal cords so our back of our tongue doesn't lock up as that crutch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what will happen is that the body's going to naturally go this way. It's going to, right? Because that space, even though we think it's in the mouth, is actually behind the palate.
Okay. All right.
So like you can't move the hard palate, right? The soft palate will shift like this much. So much space. But behind the palate,
Yeah.
where the resonators are, that's where the yummy stuff is. You want to be aligned to that. Yeah? Yeah? Now this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Belly, belly, belly. Yep, and the through the feet into the floor will provide the consistency. But the belly is gonna do this, the back is gonna do this. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let it miss a little bit more. I would even
Okay.
like it's okay if we slide a little bit, that's fine. But
All right.
it's not really long enough for that. But
Okay.
if we miss, we miss, right?
Okay.
That's not easy, folks. I don't know if y'all know that. But like that means like you just have so much amazing power up there. Like why not play around, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, but when we can slide back and forth, what we also get is how the body's moving for each of those increments, right? And so we get a better sense of where it's going to end up. That's what I
Yeah.
love about the slide. A lot of teachers hate sliding, but it's like life is easy if you're if you can slide until you can, you know where it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we go up, we're really playing with these ideas of like, where is it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I want us to again let's look for it below at least the hips.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That's actually your body's way of finding that third because I'm missing it. So
Yeah.
so like, and that's okay because, and this is the other thing. We don't want to criticize ourselves before all the things are doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
If our breath isn't flowing easily, then we can't be mad that we missed a note. We just can't.
Yeah.
Like, we need breath to like make sound. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
If we aren't clear on the vowel, we can't blame our voices for cracking.
Right.
If you don't know what you're saying, the body doesn't know what you're saying. So it may miss, it may crack,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the basically putting it together is rhythm. Like
Mm-hmm.
when and where do they intersect is the rhythm, right? So at what speed does the body move into which movement is another direction that we get to give. There are several directions within music context, but these are the basic ones. If we're not clear on the rhythm, so what a lot of us do as we do like ascending passages is we slow down. But the body heard the rhythm as a completely different thing, and so we've taken it out of its timing, right? So even though I'm a lower voice and the higher notes need more space, right? And normally I would feel more comfortable if I'm like, right? But if I tell it that this is the rhythm and I try to slow it down, I won't even hit the note. I mean, I know I'm barely hitting it now, but like it's, but it's like at least in the area, right? And if I was fully warmed up, it would be more accurate, right? But that's why I'm not worried about missing, right? Because I know I'm not warmed up,
Yeah.
right? So those are the things you want to pay attention to because if we're focused on the right thing, then we can shift and adjust the right thing, and that is. And that's what we want also, like when we're sharing what we do with people as well. So I always like to correlate it back to what we're trying to, improve at or how we're wanting to move forward and what we want to see in our lives, right? So when we're applying this work back to how we are effectively showing up essentially in our business and our sales, like kind of the few ingredients are, what is your intention? Right? Intention is the vowel. What is
Yeah.
like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right? And most of us are in business to help people in some way, shape, or form. Right? So how can you best serve is the question at hand, and the question that like we want to be able to answer if we want to be effective in sales, right? And then the second part is like how are we attaching to the result, so the outcome being whether the person moves forward or not, right? How are we attaching to that? The other way I say is, does success look only one way?
Yeah.
Right? Because if we think the only success is that client signing up today and paying money, then what we're saying is that that client has no free will, and that, that if they're not clear on it, I'll make it clear for them. Right?
Yeah.
Now, like if like I know everybody is a little different here. Like some people like to lead from a place of wholeness and strength and just kind of walk people into it. And that does mean kind of informing as you move forward. Right? But if your our primary objective is service at all, like however that looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's just a matter, are they willing to move forward with you? Period. Right? And then what does that get to look like is the next question.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get stuck with our packages and our all these things. But if the client's saying, actually, I just need this part of it, and I just I haven't budgeted for this much, this quarter, but I do need to get started on this project, and I do think you can help me that, something to this effect, right? And then maybe the package isn't the answer for like let that be a possibility. Maybe the package isn't the answer. What is that answer? Okay, what if we worked on this project and we, didn't do all the amazing things I do, but we just worked on it in this section of it, so you're not over giving, okay? And that would make sense for me to do at this price scale for this much. And or actually, I never thought of doing it that way. Let me get back to you and see what it'll look like in my structure to provide that service in this way. Yeah. Right? But most of the time you can, if you're clear on why you've placed your prices the way you've placed them, you can kind of figure it out within the session, right? And then if they keep saying, I want the whole shebang, then the question really is, and it's not like, are you going to do it? They want to do it. And then be an advocate for them doing what they want to do. How can I support you to do what you want to do?
Yeah.
Right? What makes you think you can? Let's start there. Like, and the reality is, if they say like the very reality is, I literally don't have that money in my account. Like I literally don't have it, right? Then my husband would say is that's a hard stop. In other words, like they're not equivocating. It's not about not knowing what they want. It's about the fact they literally don't have the money. But and so then like how much money do they have to spend on this? And then like what does that look like if you're able to provide services at that level? And that's the if, right? Because you may not be like, oh, actually that's not gonna work. But I'm doing another live webinar on the 26th, and they can still be, serving them. And then at some point they may have that money. And they're like, I have the money, I'm ready to start. So that's still success in my book, right? So how are we continuing to serve? And and then what are the questions that come up for you? Because we could literally go through 1,000 of them.
Questions like when I'm in those kind of conversations with people, probably, especially as it relates to what we just in this process of with, working with our voice, and is that it's like when I'm going into my head and I'm trying to go into fix it mode for them instead of staying grounded in my body. So I guess my question would be, it's like, how can I stay like grounded, like being down through my hips, asking those questions, from feeling my feet in the ground and my sit bones on the chair. Yeah.
Exactly that. And that's exactly how we let our bodies lead. We let the physiology lead. If we're not feeling grounded, then we need to do those breaths out, get centered, right? Maybe do a couple hums, really feel our physicality of the vibration on the body. That's my favorite. I do it all the time. I call them kind of like my, my breaks. I call them my breaks, like breathing and really getting this yummy vibrational sense from my voice. It's like my little miniature spas, And if I'm going into something, I realize I'm really tense. And if you can sense, if your body's tense, essentially that you're not in your body. So
right.
Body's like, this is not how this works. All right. So we want to ground. That's what grounding's about. So that's feeling the body. Yeah. And so feet on the floor, all those things is beautiful. But movement is part of how we get started and go forward.
Mm-hmm.
So are we having any movement practices? What I find with a lot of people is that we have a lot of like a meditative practices. So they're using breath work mostly as state creation and meditation. We're not really doing actionable voice breath work, which is why my breath work stops kind of halfway through the energetic process. Because what we're doing is we're accessing the other side in our action. So
Mm-hmm.
whether that's vocalizing or doing or communicating, connecting. So before you go online for a webinar, before you, like, we want to get access to our body, why we're here, what we're here to do, what we hope the results are for the clients or the audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want to get clear on that, grounded in the body. And then when we are asking those questions, and maybe they're leading questions for them to find and discover how they are moving forward, right? Then we're looking here. We're like, okay, well, I want to help. And our posture is a way of helping. But you also know, let's be clear, like we can only do so much at a time, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing we really want to be present to is like, I really want to help you, but I need 9 sessions to help you. Like I can't do it in 1 session. I just can't.
Right.
Right? You can't. You can't do it in 1 session. Right? So we just need to be able to help them understand that if they want the full result, it's going to take time. It's going to take commitment. And that's one thing we don't ask of our clients. We ask for money, but we don't ask for commitment. And if you're not asking for commitment, then you think you have to do all the work. You're doing too much work, I promise you. If you're not asking for a commitment, you're doing way too much work. Right? So these are the things we really want to be clear on. Right? Where does the client, what's their responsibility? Needs to be clear.
So what
Well, if you
kinds
can't
of
commit at this level, then I can only provide this level of service.
yeah,
Is
so
essentially what that is.
and didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
So like what are with that in asking, because I think this is like so good with asking for their level of commitment. What are the questions? How is, I mean, obviously the first question is, what is your, level of commitment? What are some other ways to ask that, I guess, to ask that question?
Well, a lot of people will do it in forms before they even have a session. So have you ever invested in your, progress of blah, 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 is one of the questions that people will find out. Are they committed to doing something about this, right?
Yeah.
The direct question I'll usually ask, like, well, do you want to? That's like my first question. It's like, do you want, like, and again, we want to leave this in the spaciousness. So the breath is spaciousness. You want to be as easy as releasing through the floor into the earth. You want it to be that because we often tie like our finances and all that kind of stress onto the client in this conversation. They don't want that. Like they already have their own problems, right? So,
Yeah.
So if we're bringing that tension into sales, like that's not the client's job to fix, right? So we want to have all of those tensions, those worries, all that released with the breath into the earth, leaving for the spaciousness of them to be able to say yes or no. They need to feel free to say no. If they don't, they're not going to buy in. Even if they pay you the money, they won't buy in. I promise you.
Yeah.
They'll ask for it back. They'll complain the whole time. They'll, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't live like that.
No. No.
Like,
You don't have time for that.
I want a real yes. Like if you, like, cause if like, well, do you want to? And I get, well, and I'm just like, I don't even, it's like, we can still talk to each other, but I literally don't want you as a client at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm keeping you out of the club. That's just reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we want to have, that like real clean. That's how we keep cells clean. It's by not putting our attachments, needs, desires onto them.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing if you're doing any level of coaching. Like your outcome is not their desire always. So you got to be clear on how they view that outcome. That's another way of keeping things clean. But so that's the kind of question. That's where I start. Do you want to? Like when do you want to get this done? That's another question. And then if they aren't willing to bring it up, it seems like it may be in the air. But is money a problem? Is this within your budget? It's another way of saying it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I like to ask those questions because I do take that into consideration, because I'm more interested in being a service than getting a certain amount of money, right? And like I said, and service may look a little different at different price points, but I'm definitely going to do my best. What's awesome about that is usually there's a point where you can start that doesn't give the whole shebang away, right? Give everything away. And still get them to a level in which they can kind of be more committed and understand the process more, and so they know that's for them. That it is for them, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're looking for is the right statements may be different wording for you, but essentially that's what when we have our time finding words, we're doing a lot of that qualification. In other words, we're covering to make sure that the sound is warm.
We're trying to make it perfect.
Yeah.
We're worried about asking. What I'm hearing you say is it's then we become more worried about what question we're asking than really leaning in to getting curious and listening.
The answer.
Yeah.
And
what
how
that
it's
client
going to
needs.
help them and you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so sometimes we're just too scared to ask. Well, because do you want to? It's very close to do you want me? Right? There's just a lot of times how we're feeling about our business, but we aren't, as much as our business are a result of who we are, they are not us. Right?
Yeah.
So when a client says no, they're not saying no to you. They might be saying no to 1,000 different things: money, time, priorities. It may be something they want, but maybe just not the level of priority right now.
Yeah.
Right? And so again, I find to be authentic in this, then we have to also be willing for their highest good to be met, even if it means not working with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about as specific I can get with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's super helpful.
Yeah. And if we're trying to pretend like we don't, this is the other thing that's coming up. Sometimes something's come up either from the audience or from who's in front of me intuitively, right? So if we're thinking that we have to act like we don't need it, right? We don't need. There's some level there's things in sales. Some people are indifference is important. I don't even consider indifference. Again, I consider it clean. You don't have to do this. But if it's going to serve you, let's do this.
Yeah.
Right? The client actually wants you to want them.
Right.
Even if they were going to say no, they still want you to want. It's it's even if, you don't really care about anybody, you've been married for 20 years and they're somebody's that is so beautiful. I love that outfit. Where'd you get it from? Or, oh, you are so gorgeous. Are you married? Yeah, I am married, but thanks for asking, It's I don't necessarily want to be with you, but it feels good to be wanted.
Yes.
Right? If we're open enough, if we're the question is, are we willing to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
And the clients actually want that level of vulnerability. I want you in my studio. I really want you to be part of this work, or let's do this journey together kind of thing. And if you speak to that and say, I would love to see you, I want to see what happens when you've done this work.
Yeah.
Right? I think you're going to be able to do amazing things. If you can help them see that,
yeah.
then that's where you want to be. If you and like, so that's not being desperate, which is kind of what people think. It's like, oh, I don't want to seem needy. Well, it's not needy if you're allowing them to say no. But if you're
Yeah.
like, I really want you to studio, how can I get you started? I'm gonna know, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole different energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the energy, folks. Like there's, you can use all the words, but if they still feel like I'm gonna hurt your feelings if I say no, then what they'll
Mm-hmm.
say is like, well, actually, yeah, I'd love to do it, but like, I don't know, like, let me call you back.
Yeah.
Because they are like trying to sidestep out the door, but they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
But if you're like, this is not about me, right? Number one, I want you to be in the studio, but like, you have total sovereignty and you can do whatever you
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm gonna be all right. Is that
Right.
level of confidence and difference, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, so that's where that comes from. It's not, it's not just a sales strategy. That's something that actually people need to be able to feel like they can say no so they can buy in when they say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that means to the work as well.
Yeah.
Like they're going to do the work. When they say that kind of yes, they'll do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and I hear what you're saying. It's like, I don't want somebody saying yes to me because they think they're going to hurt my feelings, because they won't do the work, because they're not saying a yes. They're not saying a yes from that grounded place for themselves, with their feet flat on the earth and their sit bones in the chair kind of thing. So,
Yeah, and as the leader, so to speak, or the person that's the guide, you want to start that positioning from there. That's what holding space and like things like this looks like. It's like, listen, like we have that full availability here. It's like
mm-hmm.
I know that my work has this level of result, and I see that with you being having access to this work that we could end up in this lovely place, right? That's where we hold that in the body and the sit bones. And now they can follow us there. But if we're here, there, especially with clients that are like us, and that if you have clients that are particularly empathic, particularly sensitive, there's too much. Like if I have to leave here having paid something, then I don't even want to be under that kind of pressure. Because I don't even know what I want yet.
Yeah.
But if
Not
you're
clear.
here and you're like, well, this is what it looks like. And
Yeah.
I am very excited about the possibilities when you meet this work, right? And it will be incredible, and I can't wait for it. I really hope that we get to do this together. And, how do you feel? Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Like, are we really listening is another question too. Are we really listening?
Mm-hmm.
Because they might have already said yes 3 times and we haven't sent the invoice. So if they said, yeah, I really want to, they already know the price, then the next question is, where should I send the invoice? Or here's
Yeah.
the link to sign up. That's the next move.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't have to continue to talk about it and continue to sell it. No, like, let's do it then. Right? So, and then they can, and always when you see them in their wholeness and their sovereignty, then they can step into it as well. If you're
Yeah.
being very clear, it's like, well, you want to do it? Great. Where should I send the invoice? And, they will have full authority. It's like, actually, can you give me 1 week so I can, double check my account and da 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 da. Right? Now they're giving you permission to contact them.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay, fine. Let me contact you in 7 days.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, it's just a conversation, and we just got to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I really want you to, in my work, and, what does that look like?
Yeah.
It's the conversation you get to have together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for asking the questions. And for those of us that followed along that interesting journey, then, ask your questions, see if there's anything else that's coming up for you. And I hope I get to help you out. And until then, I'm going to sign off for now and talk to you guys later.